Good evening, everybody. Happy Easter Monday. And what better way to spend the end of your bank holiday by grabbing your last remaining chocolates and watching some high-octane racing action. This is PSGL, this is the F1 tier, and it is time for round number 2 of the championship from the Marina Bay circuit. This is the Singapore Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. Alongside me, once again in the commentary box, is Dan Field. Dan, how are you doing?
Doing good as always. Really excited to be back for the Singapore Grand Prix. Last week, of course, we were at Bahrain. Sure, what a crazy race that one was, and a circuit like Singapore, very high difficulty. The drivers, well, they can make a really great race out of that one as well.
Yeah, hopefully they will. And as you said, it was an absolutely fantastic race at Bahrain. Sure, lots of different bits of action, and probably quite a surprising result in the end. If you weren't with us last week, you could definitely check out the results on the PSGL channel and the races, but it was Samuel Beam who took his first win in the top tier. A fantastic performance from him. Last time he was in the top tier, he barely got any points whatsoever, so it was quite a surprising result in the end, and quite a few surprises throughout the field. Gamer in the end did finish second place. He was fifth across the line, but he did end up getting that penalty removed that we were talking about in the race. We thought he would. Ash Best getting his first podium for a while. Reigning champion Wilson Hughes only down in 10th place at the moment, and with such a good performance from Samuel Bean and his teammate Suso finishing in 4th position, it's perhaps not too surprising then to see that Williams are on top of the Constructors' Championship with 24 points. Alfa Romeo with Hughes, last season's runner-up, let's not forget, and Duncan yet to score any points. Ferrari, Renault and Alfa Tauri without any points. And it was a fantastic performance last week from a lot of the drivers, but Samuel Bean was just able to hold on those tyres until the end of the race to claim the victory.
Yeah, it was a really brilliant performance from Samuel Bean. I don't believe he is here tonight, unfortunately, so we won't be able to recapture that performance that he did last week. But of course, Bahrain Short did the throw the race. But unfortunately, he picked up a puncture way before anyone else did. I think the only driver actually to pick up a puncture, despite Ash Best and Suso going a lot longer on the tyres. So it was a really big shame that he didn't have the opportunity, but Samuel Bean really ran away with that and he took the win.
Yeah, he did indeed. He isn't here tonight, unfortunately. We have got a couple of other drivers missing as well. Lee Finlay, again, unable to make it, so Midnight is taking over in the Red Bull, and we do have another driver missing as well. And at this moment in time, I can't quite remember who it is, if I'm being perfectly honest, but well, I'm sure we'll figure things out as the stream goes on. Qualifying is underway, and there's always a danger at Singapore that you might get a bit of rain. And that's what the drivers are having to contend with at the moment. Only light rain at this moment in time. Maybe it will get dry towards the end of the session, but a lot of drivers are heading out on track at this moment in time, wanting to get an early lap in, maybe, just maybe in case it gets worse.
Yeah, they're all seemingly on the set of intermediate tyres on their outlaps at this point, and well, it is pretty unfortunate if it does stay wet, because actually no, I think it could actually be beneficial to the race because of the fact that they are starting. Well, they get to choose whatever tyres they want to be on for the race, and they want to have that little bit of wear. So I think some drivers are going to be very, very happy to see the intermediate conditions in qualifying. Whether that's wet in the race, we'll just have to find out.
Yeah, of course, if it does end up wet in the race, it will be able to get a free choice of tyres, and tyre wear is quite important around this circuit. You may have seen on the pre-race information earlier on, recommended strategy medium hards. That's probably if you're outside the top 10. If you're inside the top 10, you'll be going for the soft tyres and then trying to get the hards until the end in a normal dry race. But let's go on board then with Ash Best and see what he can do around this Singapore circuit. Heading now into turns 1 and 2, keeping it nice and careful on the exit of the corner as he now comes around turn 3, flat out through turn 4, just a slight little kink, even in these conditions, fairly straightforward to do as he now heads into the right-hander of turn 5. Now in the race, down Raffles Boulevard as Ash nearly drifts his way into the wall. This is where you'll see the majority of the overtaking on this 5.063 kilometre circuit. Flat out through turn 6, then into turn 7. That will be the main action point in this race. A few more tight corners coming up, typical of most street circuits, as Ash now takes us through turn 8 into turn 9. He's got a lot of traction problems in that Red Bull, whether he's running a bit of a lower downforce setup at the rear of the car, perhaps potentially thinking that there is going to be some dry weather later in the race. Through turn 10, the old Singapore sling chicane removed a few years ago to the enjoyment, I'm sure, of pretty much every single driver on the grid, and Ash invalidates his lap, but he's still carrying on through 11, 12 and 13 as you head over the Anderson Bridge. Now another possible DRS zone and overtaking point, 3 DRS zones on this circuit. So he now heads heavy braking down in towards turn 14, keeping it nice and steady on the brakes, avoiding a lockup, always hard to do in these tricky wet conditions. And then this final part of the lap, 90-degree right-handers and 90-degree left-handers. They sort of ran out of ideas for different corners by the time they got to this part of the circuit. Under the grandstands at turn 18 and 19, watch out for that wall on the exit of turn 18. It can jut out if another car's hit it and just catch you out ever so slightly. Through 20 and 21, then it's the double apex left-hander to finish the lap. That we're not going to see Ash go around, but we are going to see his teammate for tonight, Midnight, go around through 22 and 23, keeping it very careful, trying to stay off the curbs. Not a bad lap from Midnight, 150.607. So we are quite a long way. We're talking over 15 seconds off a fully dry pace at the moment.
Yeah, it is very, very tough to put in a good lap in these conditions. One of the drivers was actually knocked off the podium last week. Suso is in the final sector at the moment. Suso finished in 3rd position after penalties were applied to CRG Gamer, but he did get those votes, so he actually took P2 in that Grand Prix as Suso. He's going to cross the line, going to seek vengeance for that podium. He's only 8th position at 151.3. It is common to see drivers do more than one lap on a set of intermediates, and we can see a lot of drivers who have already put in times are pushing once again on a lap. I believe the driver furthest up on a run is Mish, however. He's currently in the 3rd sector, but he's actually not using any of his overtake, so he's going to be pulling into the pit lane, which I believe that means Casper will actually be one of the next drivers to cross the line. Casper just through turns 20 and 21, and DRS has been enabled, and the rain is almost completely stopped. So, well, the wet weather not going to affect the session whatsoever in this one as Casper across the line. Well, slowest of them all who have put in a lap so far, but yeah, I think we're going to be dry running.
Yeah, I think we are going to be dry running as well. If DRS is enabled, that is usually a surefire sign that the track is ready for dry tyres. Quite a tricky pit lane entry here and quite a tricky pit lane exit. Easy to pick up track warnings and penalties in such a slow pit lane as well. You lose about 25 seconds in the pits here, so if you can avoid a 2-stop in the race, you definitely will be wanting to do so. Vasta Racer goes up into 4th position. I'm sure once he's got a bit of pennies saved, he'll be changing his gamer tag. Anyone who's been keeping an eye on the comings and goings from various esports teams, and we have finally got a driver braving the slick tyres at the moment. It is Ash Best. Now, judging how much he was sliding about on the intermediates, this could be quite a tasty lap.
Yeah, the rain has just completely stopped on circuit, and well, he's driving very sheepishly around here. You can see Recon, I've got it unfitted aside from best lap, but Recon's on a set of medium tyres in the pit lane at the moment, so that's just the tyres he's got on, and expect them to at some point come out onto a lap, and we'll see a lot of drivers try to get into the top 10 on a set of the medium tyres, because the ultimate strategy is very, very potent. The softs die out, they could be pushed to their limits at lap 9, but realistically they completely die off about lap 4. That's when you should be pitting if you are starting on a set of softs. He actually has changed it over to the Red Bull soft tyres, so it seems like everyone's going to be going on that set. But yeah, I'd expect a lot of drivers to be aiming to actually be outside the top 10 at this point.
Yeah, I think definitely. We don't think, with how close the field is, I think it is going to be very difficult for anyone to get inside the top 10 on that set of medium tyres. But we saw the alternate strategy work brilliant for a few drivers last time at Bahrain Short, and it could be something similar here, where if you're not in first place, you might as well try and aim for that 11th position. We'll just stick with Ash for now. He's going to be the first driver taking us out on a set of soft tyres. Pretty much everyone has gone onto those now, apart from Casper and Vasta Racer, and I think they'll very shortly be changing, just to give us an idea what sort of pace we're seeing as Ash bit squirrely on exit there. He's got one of the Alpha Tauris ahead of him. That will be Recon. It's Will, who's the other driver, unable to make it. Yes, 27 seconds for a first sector. That is 2.7 seconds faster than what we saw Gamer doing. So it's safe to say the track is definitely ready for the dry tyres at the moment. It's just, do you want to be on pole position or do you want to be in that 11th place? We'll see how Ash takes the Singapore Sling on this occasion. Quite a tricky part of the circuit here, and especially with how narrow it gets as you head over the Anderson Bridge. You pretty much got to go single file through this part and try and get a good exit to maybe get an overtake into turn 14 if you're stuck behind another car.
And they'll probably expect some drivers to maybe try actually take a wider line into the corner and cut back on the exit, but Ash Best just running a slight bit wide there has unfortunately invalidated his lap, but no matter, because Wilson Hughes, the season in season 28, just coming through turn 5. This is here, kissing the apex and running it out wide to open up the DRS onto the Raffles Boulevard. He's got a Ferrari car just behind him. I believe that's Mish, who's just begun on a lap, but he's already 3.5 seconds quicker than his previous best time. Of course, is not going to be representative of how quick these drivers actually are, because they did it on the wet set of tyres as he comes through the second sector now up towards the infamous Singapore Fling, which is no longer that deathly chicane that it is, as coming through up towards the Anderson Bridge here. He's a little bit slidey on the straight part, just getting the power down, struggling with that, but now opening up the DRS for the third and final time of his lap. 10 seconds quicker. He's on a 102.2 through the second sector split, which is a very respectable time coming out from the Scotsman now in towards the third sector, where you can take a lot of curve there. He's completely halfway over, I'd say, as through under the grandstand, a really tricky part of the circuit, easy to hit the wall, and very tough place for invalidation, but he got through that one very, very nicely. What's he going to do? He's going to finish up on this lap through turns 22 and 23 respectively. Take off the line. It's the first time on the board. 33.2. I'd expect drivers to go quicker than that.
Yeah, that is a very good time though from our reigning champion in the top division. Had a good result here last season. Actually managed to finish in, I think he finished in second place in the end around this circuit. And it was Timon who took the victory. Mish took the victory in F2 in tricky conditions. So if it does end up raining, don't be surprised to see the Ferrari somewhere up the order. A driver who's doing pretty well at the moment though is Valters. He was faster than Wilson in the first sector, faster in the second sector as well. So this could see the Renault driver didn't score many points last race, one of the late retirements in that race. Could see the Shizou driver force his way up towards the top of the order. Is it going to be the first time in the 132s? No, just outside with a 133.149. But you can see the track is improving every second at this moment. It could well be one of those sessions where if you have a last car across the line, you're going to have the best opportunity of setting the fastest lap.
Yeah, an Alfa Romeo driver just coming through the third sector. It's championship rival from last season. It's Joost. Just he's got a Red Bull car in front of him, pulling off into the pit lane. I assume that is midnight, and it is. But crossing the line, here comes Joost. Where can he put that car? He goes to the top. The 32.5. His teammate Duncan has been validated behind him. He's got Suso as well, company, who's on a flyer at the moment. He could be right in the top two. He's going to go into third position, so I was wrong on that note. But yeah, as you say, the track conditions is going to get better and better as the track dries up, and a lot of these guys will be improving on the end of the second.
Yeah, Mish now coming around the final couple of corners. See what the Ferrari driver can do on his first flying lap, and it's good enough for second place, just over a tenth of a second behind Used. Very good indeed. Matthias, pole position last time out. Can he try and make it 2 out of 2 early on in this session? He can indeed. 132.402 from the Mercedes driver. Fantastic lap from him. And they're not going to have much time to get another lap done. It's flown by in the session. Less than 5 minutes remaining. Matthias, Just, Mish, Wouters, Suso, your top 5 at the moment. Gamer, who got a podium last time around, he's in 7th place. Ash Best, who got the other podium in 3rd, in 14th place. They're both looking like they might be giving the medium tyres a try. Simo comes into the pits. There's still a lot of drivers leaving it late, and at this moment in time, if drivers invalidate and you're on a set of mediums, could be starting as high up as 7th place.
Some drivers are just not wanting to do the qualifying performance at all. Recon didn't put in a lap so far on a set of dry tyres. He's just come out on his outlap now. He's just not Mish pulling off to the side. But a lot of these drivers, like Vasta Racer and Christmas, actually Matthias already out on circuit, so it is going to be Casper pulling out. He's on a set of medium tyres, so he'll be trying for that yellow wall set. So yeah, I wouldn't expect anyone to be pushing for pole at this stage in qualifying session, just because well, of the wet conditions. Really a little bit of a clock. I guess there is always a clock, but a little bit more urgency to put in the time, so to say.
Yeah, definitely a lot more time pressure from some of these drivers, and everyone who's not on a hot lap now or hasn't set one, they're basically giving themselves one-shot qualifying, a bit like the mid-noughties for themselves here. And ooh, interesting news from Big C: heavy rain forecast after 20 minutes, so a tough call to go medium or soft. Now, the game, normally when it predicts rain, there's one thing you can guarantee: it will come earlier than it predicts. So a lot of these drivers that are going on the soft tyres might be thinking, I can stretch them out long enough. If you're going for the mediums, you'll be hoping it stays drier for longer. So there might be a bit of fortune favouring the Brave here, depending on what tyres you go on. Recon not doing so bad at the moment. 25.8 through the first sector. Fastest time we've seen in the first sector is Matthias on a 25.6. Used fastest man in the middle sector, and Mish fastest man in the final sector. So quite a few close times in the various parts of track. No one looking perfect all the way around the circuit at the moment. What can the sole AlphaTauri driver do, though, as he exits the Anderson Bridge on that final DRS straight towards turn 14? And you can see a few overtakes into this corner, but it tightens up slightly on exit, which does just make it that little bit more awkward.
And very tricky to make a move stick, but you can get them on exit if you do get the run and then run it side by side through here. It's highly unadvisable, but some drivers can make it work, and well, being the top tier on the PlayStation platform, I'd expect these guys to be doing so. But here's Recon coming up towards the line. He's on a 52.1. I think he's going to improve by quite some margin on that. He goes fourth position on that set of softs. You can see it's in the second sector, just before the Singapore Sling, how many drivers are out on circuit. They really are split at the moment on what tyres they're on. Some drivers are opting for the softs, others on a set of mediums. I think the furthest driver up on his outlap at the moment is Gamer, who is on a set of mediums. But Duncan has begun on a lap on the Red Bull soft tyre. He didn't have the best of races last time out, and I don't believe he actually managed to pick up any points. So this is really going to be his redemption day. There were some complaints as well about his driving standards, but we won't get too into that. He's done a 25.7 through the first sector. Sorry, that is around about where his teammate is, so it's going to be a respectable time from Duncan. And of course the track has improved by quite some margin on the run up towards turn 10. He's looking quite clean on this lap though.
Yeah, he's not doing too bad whatsoever. He'll be hoping that all those on an outlap kind of speed up at the moment. Oh, that's ruined it for Duncan. He's invalidated his lap, and if there's not a timing glitch on the screen, because we do sometimes get that where the game says the checkered flag is out and it's not out, that's not the case. He will be starting at the back of the grid, failing to set a time. You can just see this massive queue of cars at the moment, and Casper has caught it up, I think, when he was on and out. Not sure if he'd already invalidated, but there's no gaps whatsoever at the moment. They're all starting to catch each other up. It might have been a good news for Duncan that he had invalidated. Otherwise, there could have been some blocking accusations by the end of the session, because it is getting very tight indeed here. But Matthias fastest, Casper absolutely drifting his way through the final corner here. He is flying. We'll see if the checkered flag is out. Recon dives into the pit, so his session is over. He is in fourth position at the moment. We'll see if we get any improvements. Duncan, he's just slowing up towards the line, so checkered flag is out. He will not be improving any further. 18th is the best that he can do. What can Gamer do on a set of the medium tyres, though? Is he going to be able to beat anyone that's done a lap on the softs earlier on? He actually goes ahead of Suso, so that is a fantastic lap from Gamer at the moment. Puts him into sixth position as Vasta Racer 132.0 on the soft tyres. He'll definitely be hoping that it starts raining fairly early on in the race. Jordan goes into fifth place. Midnight at the moment has put himself into seventh on a set of mediums. Valters goes second on the softs. His teammate Christmas goes just behind him into third place on that set of the soft tyres. Wilson Last year's champion is in second place. One of the racing points heading around the final corner now. Blizzard, he invalidated his lap, not able to set a lap time. Suso trying to beat his time on the mediums, just manages to do so. That should be crucial, puts him in 12th. Used doesn't improve, so stays in 6th place for now. One of the Ferrari drivers coming around the final corner. That was Simo. He goes up into 8th place. No matter where you look, you've got cars headed across the line. Ash briefly went up to 14th. He now goes down back into 15th position. Let's see what Matthias is in 6th at the moment. He can't improve. Casper invalidated that final lap. What a time, though, for Vasta Racer. He was not hanging around. Fastest of anyone in the final sector. Fastest of anyone across the lap. He gets pole position.
Yeah, just over 2/10 quicker. Dan Wilson, I don't know if you caught that, but Matthias has got a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. I saw it coming up. He was in the 3rd sector on his outlap, and he was his teammate was right behind him, and the game considered that to be illegal blocking. So he's got to start in 11th position, but he'll be on that set of soft tyres. That's going to promote all the drivers up. I think Recon actually gets a free choice of tyres because he's in 11th on the set of softs, and he gets to go into the top 10. So Recon could be in a very good position here.
Yeah, he could be indeed. You can see their Recon in that sort of alternate strategy pole position that a lot of the drivers love being in. It's going to be a fantastic race. We know that, especially now that we know some rain is going to come in. Matthias in probably the worst position of everyone now. He's got to start on the older set of soft tyres that he said a very quick lap on earlier on. But from 11th on the grid with that penalty, cars ahead of him after a couple of laps are probably going to be on faster tyres than him. So it might be a very difficult race here for Matthias. But Vasta Racer getting pole position. Wilson in 2nd. Of course, Vasta had a bit of bad luck, involved in an incident last time out, ended up retiring. Wilson only managed to get 1 point, so they'll both be hoping that they can have a much better race this time around.
Absolutely. So the drivers just locking in their strategies now, and they'll be adjusting their setup accordingly, probably putting a little bit more downforce if the rain is coming on. Whether you can put more downforce on a setup for Singapore, well, that is up to what the drivers' standards are at the moment. But yeah, they're going to get underway, and you'd expect everyone outside the top 10 to probably be on a set of mediums if it's 20 minutes into the race that the heavy rain is going to come, and if it does come, it's going to come very, very quickly, given the fact that it was emphasised to be heavy. But we'll see as yeah, we're just loading in. I can see visually they're all on a set of mediums. I think it's a Mercedes actually on a set of hard tyres. It is. Casper has opted to go for the hard compound of tyres, interestingly enough.
Yeah, so some of the drivers trying something different with the strategies, and you always get something interesting happening around the Marina Bay circuit. 5.063 kilometres, 3.146 miles, 23 turns with 3 DRS zones, but if it's raining, they're not really going to have a chance to use them too much. Bit of undulation in that middle sector as they head across the Anderson Bridge can make things fairly tricky for the drivers as they're braking downhill. And there you see the tyres everyone has gone for. We knew what the top 9 and Matthias were on, the soft tyres. And like you said, Dan, everyone outside the top 10, or everyone who had a free choice of tyres, we should say, apart from Casper's gone for the mediums, he's gone for the hard tyres. So he's obviously refusing to believe the weather forecast.
Probably just trying to play it as safe as possible, I'd say, given the tyre wear around this circuit. I'm not too sure what it is like for the medium. The hard, it can go about 30 laps. So he's really preparing. I don't think we'll be doing 30 laps in 20 minutes around Singapore, but interesting. It is an interesting choice to go for Casper. But you know what? He is the esports driver, and we're just the commentator, so you probably know something that we don't.
Yeah, there's a reason why we're sat behind the microphone rather than sat behind the steering wheel. As Kimi Raikkonen said, you should stick to the reporting stuff. So Casper down in 16th, Blizzard 17th. He had not a bad race on the alternate strategy last time around. Just got stuck in a bit of traffic in the end. Could only finish in 6th. Duncan, as he said, a few feisty moves, not really making too many friends, just missing out on the points. Let's see what he can do from 18th place. Let's see what Vasta can do from pole position. You've got last year's F1 champ in 2nd place. Last year's F2 runner-up is in 3rd position, but Mish did win here last season in wet conditions, so watch out for him in this race. The drivers are now just getting forward for the grid, and I swear my eyes deceived me. In fact, am I seeing things, or am I already seeing a few spits of rain, or am I just imagining things out on circuit? I think it's already started raining before we've even finished the formation lap.
Definitely has. Oh my goodness. That's not your eyes playing tricks on you. The rain has already started. 20 minutes. You're telling lies there, Connor.
Well, I said it often comes earlier than what the game predicts, so who knows? Maybe I do actually know what I'm talking about for a change. But anyway, the drivers now already on the start line. We've got the lights coming on here at Singapore. 5 lights. And we're underway for the Singapore Grand Prix. A jump start from Hughes. Absolute disaster for him. A fantastic start for Wilson Hughes, though, down the inside of Vasteracer. He takes the lead before turn 1. Mish manages to hold on to that 3rd position, but 2 Renaults getting fairly close together. We've got a few cars shuffling in the middle of the order. Matthias and Recon battling at the moment. Hughes now is going to try and hold on to that position, and Simo going round the outside of Jordan. All sorts of wheel banging going on at this moment in time, but it's Wilson in the lead. Vasteracer is 2nd, Mish in 3rd. Christmas trying to hang on to the back of these top 3 at the moment, dragging his teammate along. Benjamin is 6th, Hughes 7th, Jordan, Simo, Matthias, your top 10 at the moment. Everyone has managed to get through the first few corners fairly cleanly. There was a bit of wheel banging, but I don't think there's been any damage on this first lap of the race. In fact, Gamer's got a tiny bit of front wing damage. He might just get that changed at his pit stop, because you're going to need all the downforce that you could put on your car if we do get some wet conditions, and they are allowed to make changes, of course, to their front wing in the pit stop if they want to add a bit more downforce to try and make account for those wet conditions. Heading down this back straight, turn 13 to turn 14 for the first time in this race. Still a tiny few drops of rain appearing, I think, at some parts of the circuit, but Wilson in the lead, Vasta 2nd, Mish in 3rd. This is going to be interesting to see how heavy the rain comes down, of course, because like you said, these softs don't last long. And as I'm looking now, we're heading around this part of the circuit, it looks fairly dry. It's definitely still a good few laps away. Even if it starts pouring it down now, you're going to be a couple of laps away from the changeover point. Might still be worth it being on the mediums.
That there is any rain on the circuit, so maybe it's going to be a little bit, but Yost already has come in to serve his drive-through penalty. A bit of a timing glitch going on at the moment. Doesn't seem like there's too many fights down the order. I saw Matthias getting his elbows up earlier, trying to make moves. He has lost quite a bit of time to Simo and Midnight trying to fight him back. But Wilson Hughes really just executed that start perfectly, going up the inside of everyone, as Game has not come in to fix his wing damage, but as it crosses the split, the timing should fix itself. And yeah, there is Wilson Hughes leading from Vasteracer, Mish in 2nd, and going back to Singapore in season 27 in F2, won by about 50 seconds. So if it does get to those heavy wet conditions, he could really be on the money here.
Yeah, maybe Mish a bit of a rainmeister in these conditions. You can see now there's definitely a bit more rain appearing, the first few visible drops on the camera, which might make it a bit more awkward for those on the medium tyres. Just until they start coming into their own, they may struggle. Gamer was having a bit of a battle with Duncan earlier on, but at the moment they're all being nice and sensible. They know this is a long race in wet conditions, and if the safety cars, you can easily see times over an hour for the race here. So a bit of a test of endurance. 23 corners, 31 times. That's one hell of a big number of all the corners they've got to go around this circuit. Thankfully for them, I imagine it's a bit cooler in their rooms than it would actually be at the actual Singapore Grand Prix. Air temperature 24 at the moment. Track temperature is 28 degrees. DRS will be enabled then on this lap because it isn't wet enough yet. Blizzard already getting a 3-second time penalty, and that's not something we talked about in qualifying. Track limits are quite tight around here.
It's really tough to get around without a penalty, but Blizzard has come a cropper to that straight away. Midnight already right onto the back of Matthias, and he could be trying for the move with the DRS now being enabled, but Matthias does have that advantage as well on Simo in front of him. They're using up the ERS down the straightaway. Is Midnight maybe going to think of a send? He has a half look on the Dutchman who was fighting for the championship back in season 26, and he actually got Blizzard right up the inside of him. There's a little bit of contact on the rear wheel of Matthias there, but now Blizzard trying to fight it around the outside. Can he maintain a wheel-to-wheel battle with Midnight? They bang wheels coming up towards turn number 10. Midnight has to back out of that one, but Blizzard seeking the opportunity when when it just approached itself, and he managed to make up the position, but he's also right onto the rear of the Dutchman, the Mercedes driver. He's going to go up the inside. It's an hairpin at the end of the Anderson Bridge, and he's losing, getting very squirrely on the exit. Maxwell's going to hold on to that one for Blizzard. Well, coming off that penalty, he's on fire at the moment.
Yes, Blizzard's 101st race in PSGL as Recon's trying to go down the inside of Midnight here. I wonder if he's had too many races that have had this much action in the first 2.5 laps. He's already got a penalty, he's making some moves. Came very close to actually losing his front wing, getting squeezed against the side of the Anderson Bridge there. Further up the field though, last year's champion Wilson Hughes just taking it nice and steady at the moment, and he's now thinking it's time to come into the pits. Vasta follows, Mish coming in as well. Christmas staying out there, thinking he can go an extra lap longer. Surely this is going to be for a set of the intermediate tyres. If you had to pick, if you felt your softs were wearing out, you just wait until the inter conditions, and there we go. Intermediate tyres are coming on. Few drivers coming in off the mediums as well, Blizzard and Suso, and it is still going to be Wilson's who's ahead of Lees, and Vasta's getting really held up here behind all these cars. An absolute nightmare for Vasta Racer. He was in a net second position, now he's in a net fifth.
Oh, he's lost out so much there. He's now behind Matthijs, who was fighting for like 10th position. Recon Midnight, who is missing his left side end plate, 38% wing damage there as told by the TAS system, so he is losing out on a lot of time here. But the gap between Wilson and Casper will really be representative of how the conditions have changed. And we'll see if Wilson can maybe close up that gap. 19.9 seconds here. It's a very long pit straight down into towards, especially with the exit. It's very, very difficult to navigate it. But I think they might be on. I think it might just be the crossover point. But you can see Christmas, Benjamin, Jordan, all these guys who are leading on the soft tyres are really struggling with these conditions.
Yeah, they are indeed. Apparently Vasta had some wheel issues at the pit stop as well, which is less than idea. But the gap between Casper and Wilson, just while I've been looking at it, it's grown about 3 seconds. So these that have stayed out a lap longer might have just got this right. We'll have to wait and see, because the track will be improving for those on the intermediates with every single corner and getting worse for those on the slick tyres. And Christmas, he decides it's worth staying out a bit longer. Benjamin comes into the pits, as does Jordan and Simo. I think that's Recon deciding to carry on. So some of the Shizou drivers, well, 2 of them at least, Wouters has gone into the pits. 2 of the Shizou drivers thinking it's worth staying out. Christmas now leads from Recon, Duncan, Ash and Casper. This is going to be quite a big test. Where is Jordan and Benjamin and all these other drivers? Where are they going to come out relative to where Wilson is? And I'll tell you what, it's not even going to be close. They're a long way ahead of him.
They've lost out so much in these changeable conditions. You can see they've exited the pit lane here, and Wilson Hughes is not even at the first corner yet. He's going to be behind Simo, and yeah, that is confirmation. Staying out that 1 extra lap has worked. They are now at the crossover point. F2 champion Benjamin leading this race now. Wilson Hughes has got his work cut out for him. The DRS is still active, and he can maybe try for the move on Simo if he does fancy it. He's got a lot more ERS to play with, and he has to get a move on. He's closing right to the back of the Ferrari. He's going to look up the inside, coming in towards turn number 7, I believe this is, and through the second sector, he's going to have to brake. Maybe just a little bit later, he might actually try to get him on the switchback here, trying to fight hard with the Italian driver, who's not a part of IGK anymore. He can't find the move here. The DRS has not been disabled yet, but Wilson Hughes, he's been caught out here by pitting that 1 lap early. It has not worked out whatsoever.
Yeah, just checking on this lap, the gap between Benjamin and Casper has stayed fairly constant, so I wonder if maybe has Benjamin caught it right, maybe Christmas, Recon and all those other drivers have caught it right, but it's definitely getting wetter, and I don't think you'll be wanting to hang around too much longer before you come into the pits, especially if you're on a bit of an older set of soft tyres. You can see how much Christmas was struggling a bit there, and there we go, makes a late choice to come into the pits. Oh, he's done a Raikkonen at Nürburgring in 2007. He's missed the pit lane, just going too fast on the way in, and he's going to have to do another lap. This is disaster for him.
Oh, and as that happens, the DRS has been disabled. Recon into the pits, as is Duncan, Ashbest and Casper, all of them on a set of the intermediate tyres, and they will probably be behind Benjamin at this point, Benjamin's just coming through the final corner. And I'll tell you what, they are exiting the pit lane. Benjamin's just coming through the first corner now. Recon could be in the lead here. We'll see Benjamin coming through turn number 1. And, well, Benjamin trying to fight with Duncan around the outside. It's going to be so close. And Duncan has come out ahead of him, as has Recon leading this race.
Just a Recon now in the net lead of this race, going 2 laps longer. May well have been the best strategy. Duncan in a net second, Benjamin in net third. There is, of course, Christmas in the lead, but I think he's going to be struggling on this lap. You saw how little grip he had, just oversteered on the way out the pit lane, tried to catch it, then the car grip just sent him wide, and he knows you're not allowed to cut over that line too much, so that's why he decided to just carry on another lap rather than risk a penalty. There's a great battle going on here for what is currently the final points position. The Ferrari and the Mercedes. Mish versus Casper. Casper just behind the Ferrari driver at this moment in time. Is he going to be able to try and sling one up the inside on the run down towards the old Singapore sling chicane? Not able to do so. Not really an overtaking point unless you can already get ahead of that car in front. But Recon in the lead of this race had a bit of a nightmare last time, it's fair to say, at Bahrain Short. Picked up a damage early on, had to pay, ended up a lap down, and as soon as you're a lap down on the track that short, things are really not going to work out for you. But it's looking good at the moment, if it wasn't already for that 3-second time penalty that he picked up early on.
He's still got a long way to go, and he's got Duncan right behind him, who seems a lot more confident in these conditions. Just to reiterate how crazy this race has been so far, I'm looking at the position change. Nobody is in the same position that they started in. Christmas finally finds his way into the pit lane, which should allow for Recon to take the lead. Duncan's going to be right behind him, no DRS to assist him down 3 DRS zones on the straight to attack the German. I think it's actually Dutch, my mistake there. But in towards turn of 1, where he's normally deactivating the DRS. He's not had that opportunity. Christmas coming up the pit lane, well, he's going to be probably behind his teammate and up points it.
Yeah, he is indeed. Just having to be forced to go on that extra lap hasn't worked out as Casper runs wide coming through turn 1. Number 2, Reynolds are going to be extremely close together. Christmas does come out in 10th place, runs wide, and Wouters is used to where the grip is on these intermediate tyres in these conditions, so he might be able to have a fight with his teammate. Of course, we won't be seeing Renault on the next F1 game, replaced by Alpine, and Racing Point replaced by Aston Martin. Can't wait to get all the A-teams mixed up on the next game, but Wouters does end up finishing behind, and you can see the position changes there. Biggest gainer, Duncan, started in last place. He's now in second. With Recon's penalties, you could say he's in a net first place, and he's really starting to hound the AlphaTauri driver, and just a tiny bit of a gap appearing between these two and Benjamin behind.
Benjamin just not really having the confidence that these two have at this point. Maybe Duncan is pushing Recon on just that slight bit. You can see he's sticking much tighter lines, which is actually hurting his exit speed in comparison to Recon. But you can also see on the telemetry they're actually running a little bit lighter on fuel. Duncan's got a yellow fuel light. That means he is not going to be able to finish the race on what the fuel load is projecting at the moment. So he's going to be running in lean, and the grip that you get in lean on the exit is staggering really in comparison to standard or indeed rich, which is not what he'll be doing in any conditions. He's getting right up to the back of Recon here in just that corner below the grandstand, really trying to hound the back of the Shizou driver. Can't find a way through.
No, he's stuck behind him at the moment. I'm just having a look at the TAS system. Every driver but Midnight, according to this, is currently in lean mode, and it's a good job for Duncan that he is, because he's 1.93 laps basically short of fuel, so he's going to have to do a bit of fuel saving in this race if he wants to get to the end. Of course, he'll be a bit steadier on the throttle in these conditions anyway, and might have opportunities for lifting and coasting later on. Of course, if there's a safety car, you've got plenty of fuel saving opportunities there, so that is probably one of the reasons why you see drivers under fuel at this circuit. Safety cars always common around a street track, but it's Recon, Duncan, Benjamin, your top 3 at the moment. Further down, Wilson Hughes, who was leading this race, he's still behind Simo, and if anything, the Ferrari driver's pulled away slightly, and he's just getting onto the back of that lead group.
I think Wilson doesn't want to be too hasty here to fight with these guys, because they don't want to lose touch. It is difficult to make up time. He's just hanging back a little bit. You can obviously see the difference in the ERS that they both have. Wilson on about 80% plus, Simo just about 30%. So I think he is being a little bit more conservative in this race, the champion himself. But yeah, he does maybe want to. Actually, saying that, Mish is also quite a long way back, so he doesn't have to really sweat it too much. Just hanging on to the back of the straight. As long as he doesn't take too much out of it, he can get too much and get any damage. He could be pretty strong position come the end of the race. Duncan is really hassling the back of Recon into the third sector. He's closer than he's ever been, but there is no avenues to go through as Jordan's just picked up a 3-second time penalty. I don't think he'll be the last driver. I'm really trying to make a move though.
Yeah, of course, Dirty Air, a bit stronger on this game than it was on 2019. In these conditions around Singapore, you'll have a lot of downforce on your car as well, and no DRS, so it's going to be extremely difficult for anyone to get an overtake done. You might have to rely on a mistake from the cars in front or a slight difference in tyre wear. These two drivers about 20% on their rears, about 15% on the fronts for Duncan. Recon's front right is heading towards 20%. You compare that to Wilson and Nishu, of course, pitted earlier on. They're up at about 40% on their rear tyres. So if this rain is lasting until the end of the race, they'll all have to pit anyway. But you'll probably see an earlier pit stop from drivers such as Wilson, Mies, Valters, Vasta, and the rest who had to pit extremely early on in this race. But Recon just holding on to Duncan at the moment. Duncan, he's got close, but not really close enough to go for a move. All the lap times were extremely similar on the last lap, as I tried to find out who the fastest person was on the last lap of the race, and it was this man, CRG Gamer, down in 16th place at the moment. So there's a sort of gives you the feeling that Recon's kind of dictating the pace at this moment in time, and some of the drivers behind might be able to go a tiny bit quicker. It is very close. It's only about half a tenth in lap time between everyone on that previous lap. But Duncan, Benjamin, and anyone else behind probably feeling like they can't really use the grip they've got in their tyres at the moment.
They just want to hang in the train and not take any risks. Maybe on a circuit like just off the top of my head, USA, where there's a bit of runoff, they can probably be pushing a little bit faster than they would be wanting to at this point. There's hardly any runoff around Singapore. Recon's come to a fault where if you run a slight bit wide, you'll lose your entire right side of your front wing. So it is a big risk that these drivers run if they want to push. And Field Spread just beginning to space out a little bit. I think Duncan settling into his rhythm as well, trying to stay behind. The rain in the last couple of laps has gotten a lot heavier. And there's a distinct little sheen that the wet has caused. Mish losing the position. Mish coming into the pits. He'll be the first one I'd expect to be going onto the full blue ball wet tyres.
Yes, full wet tyres, and maybe that is the heavy rain that was forecast after 20 minutes. Not just the light rain that we've been seeing. Last lap, they were about a second slower than the lap before. Vasta, Matthias, Suso all also coming in as well. Midnight picking up a time penalty. There is no dry line on this circuit, as you see in intermediate conditions. Like you said, there is a lovely sheen across the track, and it is very difficult out there, especially in the spray. You can just see on this camera angle, different camera angles do sometimes give a bit of a difference on what the spray is like, but they're really struggling at the moment, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more drivers coming into the pits on this lap. But already that time gap between Mish and Just is starting to come down. Blizzard gets his way past Midnight up into 11th position. Then Midnight just dropping back ever so slightly, who did fix that front wing on his earlier start. But I'm starting to think that was the lap to come in and put in the wet tyres on, because Mish already nearly on the back of Just. He's just got to make sure he can do this move cleanly. And look how quickly he's caught up to the back of the Alfa Romeo driver. Look at the extra grip he's got.
Yeah, he is so much quicker at this point. The intermediate tyres not going to be displacing enough water anymore, which renders them pretty much useless. So I'm trying to think which drivers will be at a very big disadvantage because of the double stack. I think the driver that's going to lose out most is probably going to be Walters, Christmas. No, sorry, not Christmas. Blizzard. Maybe Midnight as well. Gamer might lose out as well. So all these guys further back down the order going to have to double stack, which is going to cause some big issues. Duncan pretty much pushing Recon around the last couple of corners here. If they don't pit, I don't know what they are doing. But now coming to the left-hand side, they're all going to be into the pit. The heavy rain is here to stay, I think.
Yeah, I think what might save Blizzard, Midnight and Gamer is the fact that there is a bit of a gap between them and their teammates of about 6 or 7 seconds. In fact, there's so In fact, they're so scared of a double stack that every one of them, apart from Gamer, decides to stay out on track. They think it's worth carrying on another lap. I don't think they realise just how much time Mish has gained over a few of those drivers on the last lap. And we'll see where he come out here. He could be challenging for the lead of this race. Mish is going to be comfortably in the lead of this race on those wet tyres. Mish takes the lead. I think Recon just about might hang on to this second position. It's net second place. It's going to be close between Benjamin and Vasta on the way into turn 1, and Vasta gets ahead of him, so he's now in a net third position. Look at the gap Mish has managed to pull out. He was falling off the back of that front train. All of a sudden, he's 4.4 ahead of the Alpha Tauri.
Oh my goodness me. And well, if you didn't pit on that lap, you've lost out by quite some way, as only 4 drivers still in the intermediate set. It is monsoon type conditions here. The gap is only 6 seconds to Mish from midnight, and I'd expect by the end of the lap they'll probably be right behind him. I'm actually surprised none of them have picked up any damage at this point in these wet conditions where here. He's got Wilson. What's happened to Wilson here? He's in 16th. He must have gotten held up so much in that pit stop phase that he's way behind anyone else in this one. So in the second sector split, Mish is now 2.6 seconds back from Midnight, Blizzard and Valtteri. Quite a bit up the road, but that's not going to save him. He'll probably be in last position. So yeah, carnage, really just chaos has ensued, and all the drivers swap positions once again.
Yeah, we're going to have a completely different order. Pretty much for the third time this race, we've had a very scrambled up field with all the things that are going on. The only reason I could think why the top 3 and Used haven't pitted is that this rain isn't forecast for too long. But judging by the fact that Used was only about 10 seconds faster than drivers who had done a pit stop on the previous lap, they're going to be losing so much time at the moment that even if the wets are only the fastest tyre for about 5 laps, it looks like that's enough to sort of make up the pit stop at this moment in time. Whether it's enough to make up 2 pit stops, we'll have to wait and see. But Mish he's then in third position at the moment, works his way past Midnight, and still Valtteri's Blizzard, Midnight, as we're just going to see another straightforward overtake from the Ferrari driver. He now takes second position, and Used carries on a bit more. Gamer then behind him. But look at the McLaren, 16th and 17th now for Wilson Hughes and CRG Gamer. This has not gone to plan for McLaren at the moment. Still, though, a long way to go. They are second in the Constructors after the first race. And who knows, we might end up with dry tyres again. That would not surprise me at the Singapore Grand Prix. 20 laps to go. Valtteri's in the lead for now. I think it's going to be about 2 minutes, though, before Mish is right on the back of him and flying straight past him.
Yep, he's going to be right up behind him, probably by the end of the second sector, as Recon losing out to Midnight. He's been fighting out earlier in the race, back in the dry conditions, and well, he's just completely sailed on by, pardon the pun, given the wet conditions. Blizzard going defensive into the hairpin. It's not going to be enough. It's completely futile to try and defend from these guys. Recon breezes right past, as does Vasta Racer. Would expect Benjamin to go right on by, and I think Matthijs might want to take a slice out of the Midnight cake, but well, he's trying to fight this one back. He's actually going to get him on the switchback here, as Midnight continues to drop down the order. He's almost out of the top 10 completely here.
Yeah, for a second there, we were going to see Midnight just end up forcing Benjamin wide ever so slightly. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. Blizzard's very slow off the corner. He's been passed by Benjamin. He's been passed by Matthias as well. As either 2 Comrade Gaming drivers are battling, there's a bit more wheel banging between them, and this might give Duncan a chance to try and go all the way around the outside. This is chaos all of a sudden. Blizzard just dropping places, dropping like a stone. All of a sudden here, he was in 5th place a few corners ago at the start of the 3rd sector. All of a sudden, he's now down in 9th position, obviously, on those intermediate tyres, really finding things difficult, and it's probably not too long before they'll be wanting to pit in due to tyre wear. Simo now gets ahead of Midnight, so that's the red ball out of the point. Oh, there's been contact there. Not sure who it was who's gone into the back of Simo, but he's nearly been sent spinning around, and who's going to manage to get past him? Ash has got ahead of him. Christmas is able to get through as well. This tactic of staying out just hasn't worked for these intermediate guys at the moment. Apart from Valtteri's, they've all, well, in a minute they'll all be well outside of the points, but Valtteri's just seems to be hanging on slightly better at this moment in time, but his tyres especially the rears, are looking extremely worn.
Yeah, I think it was Ash Best that actually hit the back of Simo. I was riding on board with him, and I looked away for just a slight second as Valtteri was going to try and fight these guys, and he just lets him go straight on by. He's on 70% wear on his right rear, and he got a puncture last race, so I don't think he wants to be taking anything out of his tyre. He's trying to push these, and I don't quite get why. Maybe it's because the wets might not last to the end as Vasta Racer and Recon fighting it out. These guys on the set of wets, they're going to be on level pegging here into the braking zone. Recon trying to hold it on the inside of Vasta Racer. They're going to run wheel to wheel on the exit here. Who has got the better traction? Who's going to take the run into the chicane? It's going to be Vasta Racer pulling out ahead in that bout there, moving in second position. This is like deja vu for me. Mish leading the race by an absolute mile. Like he did in Singapore last season in F2. So, yeah, I think history really does repeat itself.
Yeah, I think it definitely does. Just trying to look at the tyre wear for those that did pit earlier on, well, pitted onto the wet tyres. I think they might be okay getting these wet tyres towards the end of the race. It's going to be touch and go, but if it stays at this intensity, you're not putting anywhere near as much loading in, and they might just have half a chance. Used has decided to finally give in and decided to put the wet tyres on, but he is so far off the back of the field at the moment, down in 18th place, that he's going to need a safety car or some big weather change that he calls absolutely spot on to really force his way further up the order. Blizzard and Midnight are now going to start falling a long way off the back of the field, and we'll just give you an idea how much they are struggling. Mish on the last lap was a 1 minute 57. Blizzard was a 2 minutes 11 lap time. That is how much they are struggling. 15 seconds per lap. After 2 laps, that's your pit stop done.
Yeah, it's crazy the difference that these wet tyres make in these conditions. Of course, displacing the most water out of any of them. I'm just looking on board with the jokes. Like the rain still is quite intense, but I think it's a little bit lighter than it was at the start of these extreme wet conditions. I don't think they'll be changing the tyres for a good couple of laps here. We could see intermediates come back into play, but well, Racer repeating himself. Mish could also be in the same scenario. He just hit 75% on his right rear, and that is where you get sort of into the puncture territory. That is when punctures can occur, and they will soon deflate. I'd assume he's really going to be in a tough position here. The gamble just has not worked out for these guys to stay on the intermediates, brave the wets, and just hold it out. Yeah, it's just not worked for them. So I think they'll be kicking themselves about that one, and probably want to be a little bit more careful come future races.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this has pretty much blown any chances of getting points for any of those that have stayed out. The 4 that decided to carry on are now the 4 drivers at the back of the field, and with Valtter's tyres being in such a state, surely he's going to have to come into the pits. And at the moment, the wet tyres are still looking like the ones to be on. Well, we'll keep an eye on what times all these intermediate drivers are setting at the moment, as Wouters is not going to carry on another lap. For a split second there, I thought he was going to go on just that tiny bit longer, but no, comes into the pits. This is going to drop him down, possibly. Well, he should still be coming out ahead of Hughes, but he's going to be down in 17th, a long way off getting any points. And it is Mish in the lead of this race. He's beginning to enjoy wet races at Singapore, 7.3 seconds ahead, although Vasta Racer, he is showing some good pace. Last lap he was slightly faster than Mish, and these drivers 2 seconds a lap faster than Recon, Benjamin and Matthias behind.
Yeah, I think Mish just really does love these wet conditions. I'm looking at the F2 archives from last season. He won 2 races, both of them were actually in wet conditions, so yeah, he really does love these. Vasta closing ever so slightly through the second sector, but I think he's going to be loving life at the moment. Recon in 3rd, he's still got that time penalty to contend with. Maybe if he did get an unfair warning, try and get that one removed, but I don't know how likely that is. I remember Game got his removed just because of the issues with getting forced off, I believe, as Simo and Casper fighting out here. Casper might have made a slight mistake there because he lost a whole bunch of time, and now Sousa's onto the back of him. Casper's actually letting him by. I wonder if he's got damage. I'll check. Casper Dov has damage. He's on at 44% on that right side, and you can see his end plate is completely missing.
Yeah, big damage for Casper then, missing his end plate. Valters came back out on a set of the intermediate tyres, which is brave. I suppose once you've committed to this strategy, you might as well just stick with it. Those intermediates should get him towards the end of the race, but I'll be very surprised. I'm already very surprised that no one who's stuck out on those intermediate tyres hasn't found the wall at the moment, but there's definitely more of a dry line than there was a few laps ago. The rain is still coming down extremely hard as Midnight picks up himself another time penalty, probably struggling to keep it between the lines at this moment in time. And I think on that lap, just to give you an idea, they were about 10 seconds slower than those on the full wet tyres, so not as much as earlier on, probably because they've not been passed as much as those, as Casper does come into the pit. Another set of the full wet tyres, brand new front wing for him, should come out round about where used is at this moment in time. But it is Mish in the lead of this race, 7 seconds from Vastaracer, who himself is 5 seconds ahead of Recon, and he's got 2 CRG drivers that are battling behind him, Benjamin and Matthias at the moment. Duncan, Jordan, Christmas, Ashbest and Simo rounding out the points.
I wonder what's happened to Benjamin there. He's a lot closer to Recon about a lap ago this time by. Now he's a full second off, so he must have made a mistake somewhere. Maybe a bit of contact with either not Vasta, Recon or Matthijs, but he's just got to try and close that gap back up to Recon. We're not going to be seeing too many overtakes, especially when they've got these 5-6 tenths gaps. They're not going to be making any ridiculous sense, especially with no DRS to use to their advantage. Would be safe in the wet, so we might settle in to a bit of a dull period where we're not seeing too many overtakes. It's unfortunate, but I guess these guys want to be as safe as they can to get to the end of the race. So in that being said though, Jordan right up to the back of Duncan, maybe he wants to try and get a move on and clear a gap because he's still got that 3-second time penalty. He's right up the back of Duncan, losing a bit of time to Matthijs in front of him.
Yeah, Duncan does have the fastest lap of the race at this moment in time, which I think it's fairly safe to say, as long as he finishes in the points, he will manage to get that 1 bonus point for that, because I don't think this race is going to be getting dry. Turns out Casper's had problems with his pedals. His pedal has broken, and you can see he is still losing time to use, so it's going to be extremely hard for him to work his way up the order. But yeah, gaps definitely starting to form at parts of the field. Vasta just losing a bit more time to Mish on that gap. Recon then has his train of cars behind him, with Benjamin, Matthias, Duncan, Jordan and Christmas being the last car. Ash, Simo, Suso sort of on their own, although Suso does have the 2 McLarens not too far behind him, and then big gaps at the back of the field with Yost, Casper, Valters, Blizzard and Midnight really out of things now. Christmas looks down the inside of Jordan, not able to do so. Not able to get that move done. Maybe just moving out so he can actually see down the straight. It's incredibly hard in these conditions, especially if anyone uses the normal TV pod cam, and I think this race is an advertisement why not to use it, because you can barely see in the braking zones when you're this close to the car in front.
Yeah, his visibility in the wet is very tricky to contend with. I'm reading in the chat, Brett has said that Casper's pedal has broken. I don't know whether that's his brake or if it's his accelerator, but that must have caused the issue for him. I'm looking at the weather conditions. It seems like the rain still is pretty darn heavy, but maybe it's just lightening up a slight bit, and with the dry line beginning to form, we could see some intermediate running towards the end. We're on lap 17, we're about to begin lap 18. Mish still keeping that gap nice and clear with the race in front of him, about 6.7 seconds, so he's losing a slight amount of time, but he is still keeping him at a safe distance. They are social distancing on circuit, I'd say, between the pair of them. Recon losing a lot of time though to Vastaracer, and I don't think Benjamin's too happy. He's hunting down his first F1 podium. He's only 3/10 back, and then he's got his teammate Matthijs with a CRG comrade right behind him in Matthijs. Can't make a move towards turn number 1. He's just going to be hanging back. Probably will want to take it on the penalties.
Yeah, indeed, but I think Matthias all obviously, they might be comrades, but they're wanting to fight for their own teams at the moment, wanting to fight for the Drivers' Championship. Both of them scoring points last time out, but probably not as much as they would have wanted. And with the 3 drivers that got a podium on the last occasion, one of them's not here. Ash is in 9th, Gamer outside the points at the moment. So definitely things going to be tightening up in the championship at this moment in time. It turns out it was a throttle pedal for Casper that got stuck down. So definitely not ideal to happen in any conditions, and really not around a track as close and as tight as this one, as Matthias is pretty much pushing Benjamin round some of these corners. Just not able to get close enough, just not able to get enough traction on exit to try and get a move on this occasion. 14 laps to go. Mish Faster Racer looking very safe as 1 and 2 at the moment. Who's going to finish third across the line though? Anyone's guess at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think Benjamin's top priority at the moment is just to keep Matthijs and Duncan behind him, two very respectable drivers who are super quick on this game, and I think it's not going to be too difficult in these wet conditions, especially around Singapore where it's not even easy to make an overtake in the dry. No, the task system just glitched out for some reason, saying he's on 0% tyre wear on all of his tyres. That's just immediately fixed itself, so that was a bit of a weird little glitch there. 6.6 seconds between Misha and Basta. Basta lost out quite a bit, and that heavy rain is looking a lot lighter than it was before.
Yeah, it is doing. I was just trying to look at the tyre wear. Misha's on 25% tyres after 8 laps with 12 to go. If the rain stayed at this intensity and they had to stay on wet tyres, you're talking about mid-60s. So it's going to be tricky just in terms of you're losing a lot of grip. You haven't got as much tread, but they should be able to get them towards the end without any worries of a puncture. But the drier it gets, the hotter those wet tyres are going to get, the more worn out they're going to get. We might see a few drivers maybe dive into the pits and put the intermediate tyres on. We might even see a few drivers dive into the pits a bit earlier than that and put the intermediate tyres on now. One of those, and who's got nothing to lose, CRG Gamer from 13th position, should still come out in 13th. This is going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, Alters, Midnight and Blizzard all also on a fresh set of intermediate tyres. That rain has really changed its course, and well, Gamer could be in a bit of a better position. He was behind his teammate who's in 12th position at the moment. He's going to come out in 13th because Ghost is also pitted as well. It was his throttle pedal, by the way, for Casper. His pedal got stuck down, just giving him that wing damage. But the gap between Wilson and Gamer at the moment is staying kind of stagnant. Granted, that is only going to come down, I'd say. So I think it's definitely going to be the right time.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Dan.
Benjamin's got damage. And oh, he's actually gone at the inside here of Recon. I completely missed that one. I was too focused on the tyre situation. But now he's got half his front wing completely gone. And here comes Matthijs to the outside line, trying to fight it with Recon here. He's got that move on the Dutchman. So it's all kicking off, and Benjamin giving the position to Matthijs there, I think.
Yeah, I just caught that on board. Benjamin went for the move on Recon. It was a bit of a late move. I don't think Recon was expecting it. Recon got pushed wide. Benjamin damaged his front wing. And there we go. Well, that is fairly straightforward. What has happened there? We are now going to see everyone, I think, coming in for a set of the intermediate tyres. Mish into the pits. Vasta deciding to stay on a bit longer. He's clearly got confidence in these wet tyres. Even if they're not outright fastest, they might just give you a bit more grip through the exits of some of these corners. You might have a bit more of a feeling that even if you can't go outright fastest, you can afford to be a bit more aggressive with them, and they'll hold the grip in these conditions, especially if you run online. But Mish is going to come out then from his intermediate tyres in 6th place, not too far behind his teammate at the moment. I think it's Duncan is going to come out 3rd out of those on the intermediates. Matthias is now in a 7th position. Duncan 8th, Christmas 9th, Suso in 10th. And apart from the top 5 drivers, everyone is in on the intermediates, and this might be a bit of a good view. Has Gamer got ahead of Wilson and Suso? It's going to be very close on the exit here. He's definitely got past his teammate. Round into turn 1 he goes, and he's got past Suso as well. So CRG Gamer calling it absolutely perfectly.
Just shows the difference in grip that the tyres are making. And you've got to assume that guys like Vasta, Recon, Jordan, Ashbest and Sim are all staying out an extra lap on the wet, especially for Jordan, because he's going to have to stack behind his teammate. He might just get away with it, given that it's 14 seconds behind him, but it is still going to be a little bit touch and go as to whether he gets held or not in this one. Gamer really did call the pressure perfectly to come in this lap 1 lap earlier. Didn't make him up too much time, but it was enough to pick up a position or two. Could insert himself into the points later on in the race. You can see Meech already on the back of his teammate Simo here. Simo might be wise to not fight his teammate here. He's going to hold him up ever so slightly. Not going to be what Meech would want in this one, but you can see how much confident he is on exits and such. Getting right behind his teammate, can't get through. If Basta doesn't pit, he'd be crazy. He's coming into the box, as I would expect Recon Jordan, Ashmas and Simo to do the same.
Yeah, I think we are going to see those top 5 all peel off to the left-hand side, and there you can see them all getting out of Misha's way. So he's going to go back into the lead of this race. Faster Racer probably thought maybe he had plenty of time to just play it a bit safe. Should still come out comfortably in a second position. It's where Recon is going to be relative to some of these guys. Now, he did drop behind Matthias. Obviously, Jordan was in that long queue as well. Is Duncan going to drop over those and give himself a chance of getting into a net 4th position at this moment in time? You can see Matthias' name shooting up to 3rd, and you can see there Duncan is going to be in 4th, and Christmas is also going to be ahead of Recon here. Benjamin not actually losing out too much despite that front wing damage, and look where he is. He's now straight back behind Recon again.
Yep, so, and he's actually trying to go up the inside through turn number 4 here. They're going to be running wheel to wheel to turn number 5. Benjamin just getting on the outside line. Recon losing out, going into 7th position, could push him back into the wheel tracks of Gamer, who's coming at him at a rate of knots, and he's actually using up some of his overtake here. Is the McLaren driver going to turn that one off because he doesn't want to go for the move? That would have been too risky, I'd expect. But, well, Gamer's called this one perfectly. He's about 14th position before. Now he's in 8th, so, but actually both the McLaren teams, they're in 16th. Is something out of this race, and it is something they've managed to claw back, I think. So good on them to at least try and fight back on them, given up. We actually haven't had a single DNF, despite some races going absolutely terribly for some drivers. So I love the willpower of all these drivers just to keep pushing on.
Yeah, they just carry on going. You know you can't give up. You never know what is going to happen in Formula 1, and especially in conditions like this. Who says we're not going to have an incident now in a safety car that's going to bring those drivers a bit further down the field? Yost, Wouters, Blizzard, Midnight, Casper might still have a chance of pulling something off in this race if there is another twist in the tail here in Singapore. But 10 laps to go, and Mish with a 9.2 second lead at this moment in time. You can see there Vastavation wasn't even in shot as the Ferrari was heading into turn 1. Matthias is in 3rd. Duncan, Christmas, Benjamin, Recon, Gamer, Suso and Wilson are the drivers in the points at the moment, as Recon, you can see, still seems to be struggling a bit in the damp conditions. Penalty wise, 3 seconds for Recon, Suso and Jordan, 6 for Blizzard and Midnight. And if we do get a bit of a queue behind Recon, that penalty could be really costly and could even maybe drop him outside the points and see, well, Ash is going to get promoted ahead of Suso anyway, but we might even see Simo be able to pick up a point without having to make any overtakes out on track. Now, I can't imagine, even if the rain stopped in the next couple of laps, I can't imagine we're going to get to a point where dry tyres are going to be worth it.
Yeah, I think, well, the rain still is trickling down. It isn't as heavy as it was before, but it is still present. It means the track isn't going to be drying up all that quickly, but it will certainly stay intermediate, I'd say. I don't think anyone's going to take the risk. This Gamer's looking up the inside. It's an unorthodox move, but he's actually going to go up the inside in towards turn number 9. He's made that one stick on the Alpha Tauri driver, who's lost out there. He's lost another position, and he's probably going to lose out by quite some margin towards Gamer, because look at the gap between Gamer and Benjamin. That was spent behind Recon. Oh, Recon's hit him! Recon's gone too deep on the brake, and Gamer losing out a lot of time there.
Yeah, Gamer will not be pleased with that. I think somehow, a bit like last week, Recon has got very minor front wing damage, but I'm surprised he didn't get a lot more than that, as Jordan in the background looks as though he was thinking about sending a move down the inside of Simo, but Recon, it was done to him by Benjamin, and he's made the exact same mistake. Wasn't alongside far enough into that corner, and unless you've got your entire car alongside by the time you start turning, it's very awkward to get an overtake done there, and Recon lucky to get away without any major damage, and Gamer likewise after getting the bit of contact, looking at his front wing didn't get broken by the secondary impact, but that's just made it a bit harder for Gamer if he wants to try and catch up to his CRG teammate of Benjamin. There's now a gap of 5.5 seconds between all of them. As you see the gaps to the leader at the moment, Recon and Suso would drop behind Wilson, would drop behind Ash, probably drop behind Simo and Jordan as well, so they really need to try and get a move on if they want to stay in the points on this occasion.
Yep, they've got to pick up the pace, I'd say, and it's been quite a chaotic race for both of these guys. Suso's been a bit quiet, I'd say, especially from his performances of last week, but Recon's been right in the thick of it, leading the race at one point. He was looking like he was on track to win at some point. Then he lost it all completely when it changed to the wet conditions. Mish pitted earlier than everyone as Jordan and Simo fighting out. I think Jordan tried to go around the outside at turn number 7, the Italian man, and he's managed to make it on stick, almost forcing Simo right into the wall. That was a bit touch and go from Jordan there. He lost quite a bit of time to Afbes as well. Walker teetering on the points, and with those 2 penalties being applied to Recon and Suso, you'd expect him to be in the 9th position by the end of this.
Yeah, indeed. So it's not going too bad for some of these drivers at the moment. I think Jordan's realised that he needs to make a move on if he wants to get in the points, seeing what the penalty situation is at the moment with those 3 seconds, and realises he's got to start fighting his way up the order. There's still a few drivers in the field, I think, who haven't actually got any more. Benjamin hasn't got any warnings. Neither has Simo, neither has you. So they've done incredibly well indeed, especially seeing as you spent so much time on a set of intermediate tyres in conditions that were clearly nowhere near the intermediate. So Recon has dropped quite a long way back from Gamer, about 2 seconds on this lap, but Suso isn't hounding him at the moment. If anything, he's dropping back slightly further. So Will Wilson, 10th position, Wilson Hughes, reigning champion in F1. He's on for an extra 3 points in this race at the moment to go with the one he got last time out. Will he feel the need to get a move done here to try and see if he can get onto the back of his teammate?
Whether he'd try and do that one, I know that these guys are most likely in the same box. Is the Simo coming into the pit lane here? He's checking for damage. No damage whatsoever. So he's actually on a set of slick tyres. And the rain is completely stopped here. And now we could see some dry running.
We could do indeed. Hughes got a penalty for speeding into the pit lane. He's got no warnings and then goes and picks up 5 seconds all in one go. Just looking at the lap times, 151 for some of the lead cars last time around. We were seeing 150s in qualifying at the crossover point. And of course, I've got a bit more fuel on these cars and they're driving with a few more worn tyres. So it is no surprise whatsoever to see that we are going for some dry tyres. Simo and Hughes going for the softs. Wouters, Blizzard, Midnight and Casper going for the medium tyres. One extra twist in the tail in this Singapore Grand Prix. They started on dries, they went to intermediates, then they went to the wets, back to the intermediates. Looks like we're going to go full circle onto the dry tyres here. We'll see if Mish feels like he's got to come in, and looking behind him, there's no spray whatsoever at this part of the circuit coming through the final sector. Surely everyone's now got to dive into the pits for a set of the soft tyres or the mediums.
I actually don't know if the softs were the right call. I think they might actually be pushing it on the medium tyres to go to the end. There's a Mercedes car coming in for the mediums. Mish has opted for the softs. The Haas team will be running out their garage at the moment, and that's the Mercedes team swapped it over to the softs. That's going to be Matthijs going onto the Red Bull tyre. Yeah, they're all trying for these softs to go to the end. And yes, it is doable. They won't feel good by the end, but it is doable. As yellow flags and Blizzard is out. Could we see a safety car so late in the race? It is!
Safety car out then, and I don't think this is really going to tighten things up all of a sudden and bring a lot of people back into play. The safety car coming out just after a few of these drivers had made their pit stop, so they're going to end up doing a full lap of the field. I think Matthias is the first driver that's been caught by the safety car, but he will be allowed to go free. So Blizzard out of the race then, our first retirement. We have seen a safety car, and if you're one of these drivers that's put on the medium tyres at the back of the field, do you now think, well, I might as well put the soft tyres on? If you're gamer, you've put on the mediums because you've not got as much confidence on the soft tyres, perhaps, to get them towards the end of the race. You know there's going to be some very quick drivers behind you as Recon goes past Simo then under the safety car. That is not meant to happen, so I wonder if they will end up being swapping back or whether that was just Simo making a slight mistake. But all that lead Mish has had, basically, since they had to go to the wet tyres, even since being, well, yeah, since the wet tyres, he's been absolutely miles ahead. All that lead has just been wiped out, and with 6 and a bit laps to go, it's going to get very interesting to see who's going to end up winning this race.
Like his win was almost set in stone. He did not put a foot wrong in this Grand Prix, and now that's been completely brushed aside. Vasta Racer, Matthijs and Duncan, probably the three drivers you would at least want right behind you in a safety car period. So quick. One warning, so he does have some leeway to push the track limits a little bit if he wants to, provided he doesn't get a second warning. But yeah, we do have to get at least 3 laps of running towards the end. I think the safety will probably come in. I don't think it will come in this lap. They might do one more run. So we're right behind it, and they'll be full on ERS for the last couple of laps. Don't know whether the DRS will be enabled. We'll just have to find out. But this is a crazy ton of events.
Yeah, definitely. We thought we were going to have a bit of a dull end to this race with some big laps between the leaders. Then it realised that the track was getting dry. They had to put on the dry tyres, and we still didn't think that was going to add too much excitement. And then all of a sudden, Blizzard having an accident. One of the most experienced men in the field just been caught out slightly today by the change in weather conditions. He's our only retirement, and the field is going to close right up. Mish has caught up to the safety car, and you can see it. So he's caught up to the safety car. He's currently coming around turn 9 at this moment. You've got Midnight who's only just made his way around turn 14, so it's going to be a while before we see these drivers catch up. They can push as fast as they want now that the leader has caught up to the safety car, though some of these on the softs might just go a bit more gentle just to save their tyres. So push it about 90% to make sure you don't make a mistake, never mind 100%. Drivers that this is terrible news for, every single one of those that has got a penalty, because now it bunches the field right up, and we're talking about Recon maybe losing a couple of positions. Him, Suso, Jordan, Houston, Midnight very possibly could find themselves being the last few finishers.
It's just, it's really unfortunate if you do pick up penalties and then the safety car comes out at the end, because that completely wipes out any gap buffer that you had. We could have kept your positions. Completely gone for them now. Recon's going to be hurt the most out of this, I think, because he's in 8th position. He'll be dropping positions, if of course they can keep the 3-second window. He'll be dropping positions to Simo, Ash Best, Wilson, Casper maybe, Bouncers as well. He could be jumping them by the end, and Yost also 5 seconds. Going to just add to his worries. Of course, he's got that speeding in the pit lane. Safety car probably would have been called in by this point, so I think we're going to do one more lap behind the Mercedes car. It's going to be an Aston Martin or a Mercedes next season, one of the two, depending on the track, which I'm really excited to see in an F1 game, because that car in real life is beautiful.
We need a safety car mode. I think it was F1 2002, for those who are old enough to remember that. It's where that had a mode where you could throw it around in a Mercedes safety car. We need that back, Codemasters. F1 2021, fix the DRS braking, fix the pit lane, and bring a safety car mode. Everyone will be happy, I think, as Casper, he has got rid of those medium tyres and coming to the pits and put on a set of softs. Makes perfect sense to do that, because there's no danger now about the softs not getting towards the end.
He'll perfectly get to the end on a set of softs. We'll be going for 4 or 5 laps towards the end, provided it does come in this lap, so it's just perfect for them both. They're all coming for all of the drivers, sorry, to come in. I'm losing track of my words here, but I think it's going to hurt the most Gamer and Ash Best as well on a set of mediums, where they thought that they were going to get nice and clean towards the end, but no, unfortunately for them, the safety car came out when they'd already locked in their strategies, and that completely ruined anything. But I'm just looking at the pit stops. Casper's made 6 stops in the race.
Casper doing 6 stops. Was it 6 stops Jenson Button did when he won in Canada in 2011, or was it 7 stops? It was a lot of stops, I remember that.
I think I remember it being 6. I think it's a bit late in the... I think the dream might be over for Casper to pick up in Singapore, but maybe Formula 1 can throw many twists and turns. Safety car being confirmed to be coming in this lap. It's going to be Mish to take control of the field. It's his discretion as and when they go. He's got to let that safety car get away from him and put him to the pit. But we're going to be racing on lap 28.
Yeah, we are going to get 4 laps of racing. DRS will then be enabled on lap 30 and 31, so that is really when you can see this field get mixed up ever so slightly. Casper, Volters and Midnight only just catching up to the back of the pack, so they might have a bit more warmer tyres than some of these drivers. Will that give them an advantage on the restart? Mish has to wait for that safety car to get past the pit lane limiter line. If he catches it before then, the game will slam the brakes on for you. I have seen that happen at this track, and I have seen it cause all sorts of chaos. When is Mish going to go? He's dropped the throttle and he's got it absolutely fantastically then. He's built quite a gap already above Vasta Racer. We are back to green flag racing. Jordan gets a penalty very early on. Christmas has got been side by side with Duncan on the run down towards turn 1, not able to get the move done. Recon's lost a few places. Simo's got past him. Suso has got past him. All sorts of drivers picking up penalties. Matthias has picked up one after the safety car came in, so a bit of a disaster for him. Jordan now gets past Ash Best. He's up into 11th place. Can he work his way up the order? Casper, we said his tyres might be a bit warmer. He's managed to get past Hughes. The two VSR drivers battling out in 14th and 15th. Is Hughes able to fight back on this occasion? He's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Not able to do so on this lap. A crazy restart then to this race, a bit further down the field, but very straightforward for me. Still in the lead of this race, and now Vasta just slowly pulling away from Matthias. Perfect restart from the Ferrari driver though.
There was about 4 drivers that actually picked up penalties in that. Matthias, Christmas, Jordan and Ash Best all picked up penalties, presumably at the same point on the circuit, so they've really got that restart wrong here, as Recon losing a lot of time to Suso up in front of him. He's also got that side bit of wing damage that he never got fixed in the end, so he's just been dealing with that slight amount of 6%. Not going to be affecting him too much, but it's just enough to make him lose that 1 second with the DRS. They're going to have one more lap under no DRS to help be able to utilise that little letterbox at the rear wing, which allows you to get a little bit of drag reduction down the straightaway. 3 of them that are available to the drivers, so they're going to be able to utilise that to the best of their ability. Beginning lap 29, they're all beginning to set the fastest lap out of the race, as you would expect. Me 5/10 ahead of Vasta Racer. Well, with only 3 laps to go, it's going to be tight.
It is going to be tight. A lot of this could do down to that DRS, so maybe on the final lap of the race, maybe into turn 14. Vasta, be very surprised if he didn't get a warning there. Things are getting very close. Benjamin picks up a time penalty. We saw Christmas has got one as well. I think Suso, a few others might have been picking up warnings and time penalties. They are just pushing like crazy at this moment in time to try and get as many positions as possible. Jordan very close to the back of Recon. These have both got penalties, 10th and 11th at this moment in time. Bit of a tap there from Jordan on the back of Recon, pushing the AlphaTauri driver wide, and you can see Recon's outside of DRS range of Suso. This could cost him, and it could cost all those drivers behind if they can't catch up as well when it comes to penalties later on in the race. Vasta's closed up to the back of Mish here. Mish has actually used quite a lot of ERS in these first couple of laps since the safety car came in. He's down to 20% at the moment. Vasta is in the 40s, and Matthias very similar to Vasta ahead of him as well. So they're all pushing incredibly hard, and they're all getting very close to penalty territory as well, I feel. This is going to involve quite a few swapping of positions, I think, at the end of this race. Now, when is Vasta? I imagine surely at some point he's going to go for the move. Is he going to do it on this lap, or is he going to wait until the final lap of the race?
He's probably going to try and maybe hold it out for a little bit more, but I'd imagine as Jordan picked up another time penalty, that's 9 seconds to his name, but I imagine in their party chat not a sound can be heard. Maximum focus for all of these drivers. Jordan coming to the pits, going to try for a fastest lap, I would assume, or just retire the car, as now, yeah, he's out of the race, but Vasta Racer this time by, he's going to have DRS on Mish. 2/10 is the gap between the pair of them. Who is going to be the leader coming out of turn number 7, as here comes Vasta Racer down the straightaway. He pulls to the outside line through turn number 6 and into the braking zone. He's ahead of Mish coming onto lap 30 here, and Vasta Racer leads. Mish in second, Matai still following in third.
Yeah, great move there by Vasta Racer, using the DRS to its full effect, and of Wilson Hughes as well, managing to get ahead of Ash. Suso and Simo are battling. I know Simo's having a few connection problems, that's why he's jumping all over the place. Don't worry, that's not a secret that Ferrari have got from the FIA to use teleportation at this moment in time. So Simo is in 8th place, but Wilson getting ahead of Ash, and that was crucial because you could see how much Recon has been able to get away from him. Gamer, Wilson's teammate, not doing too bad on those medium for tyres, to be fair. He is in contact with Benjamin and Christmas, and who knows, if he can stay close enough to Matthias as well, could find himself as high as 4th position in this race. But Vasta Racer definitely looking like the man with the pace at the moment. He's already pulled out a second on Mish. Did the Ferrari go for a bit more of a wet strategy? And that safety car has really cost him.
Yeah, he's now lost DRS to Vasta Racer, who's just got to go one more lap around here. Not pick up a penalty as well. That's going to be crucial for him if he wants for the win, but fastest lap coming out, smashing out the water from him there. And I think actually Matthijs is going to try for it on me. He's going to hang back for the time being in second position toward turn number 1. He's still got that penalty to contend with, so maybe just wants to pull out a gap. Some of the guys behind, like Gamer and Simo, so he doesn't lose his position to them, but I'd assume this is going to be exactly a carbon copy of what we saw between Vasta and me, pretty much at the same point as well. There goes Matthijs up the inside line before the corner comes into the break turn. Mish losing out the position, now he's into third, and what a race it could have been for him if it just stayed in those wet conditions, but it unfortunately was not meant to be for him. Third position at the moment, he can still hang on to that podium if Duncan fails to get past him on the final lap here, which was looking quite likely, but it has been a very unlucky race, I'd say, for him.
Yeah, it does. Mish, you can see, he's just not got the grip in these dry conditions. Duncan sends one down the inside. At turn 13, there's contact between the two of them. Another forceful move from Duncan. He's got the DRS, and you've got Christmas not too far behind either. So Duncan up into third place. Mish trying to send one down the inside. Can Christmas get the cutback here? Not able to do so. Benjamin just a bit further back behind these drivers as well. It is all kicking off in the final couple of laps of this race, but it is pretty much single file for his final part of the gap lap, and all that battling means Matthias might not lose as many places on penalties as he thought he was going to do. But coming around the final couple of corners, Vastavator got held in the first pits. It doesn't matter, he takes the victory. Matthias is going to drop down. Duncan takes second, Mish takes third, Matthias ends up in fourth, Gamer is fifth, Simo, Christmas, Benjamin, Wilson, Hughes and Suso rounding out the points finishers. There was a yellow flag right at the end of the race there, so Suso does pick up another point for the Williams team, our constructors leaders going into this race. But Vasta Racer, his first points and his first victory of the season.
Well, that is two brilliant races that we have seen. Vasta Racer not even finishing last time out in Bahrain Short, but this time he stands atop the podium. He waves to the crowd. David Tenitza is his character, funnily enough, but he's bringing it tonight. He's bringing it to PSGL. This championship is going to be his. I think he's trying to stamp his claim as quite as hard as he can. What a victory from him. Unfortunate for me, but well done to Duncan as well, picking up second position from 18th on the grid.
Yeah, fantastic job in the end by Duncan. And I think that pit stops, like you said, Dan, just shows what a crazy race it was. Vasta Racer taking the victory and the fastest lap as well. And I think with how crazy that race is and how mixed up it was from earlier on, he's only actually 1 point behind Gamer, who now leads for championship. So Vasta Racer takes the win. It's a 1-2 to VSR, with Duncan getting his and also the first points for Alfa Romeo this season. Mish so close to a victory. Surely, if it wasn't for that safety car, it would have been a second win in a row at Singapore for the German. Third, though, not a bad consolation. Matthias is in fourth, Gamer fifth, Simo takes sixth position, Christmas, Benjamin, Wilson, Hughes and Suso rounding out the top 10. Casper, who knows, maybe if it wasn't for that pedal issues, maybe we'd have seen him further up the field. Only a manager to come home in 11th. Valters is 12th, Ashbest is 13th, Recon 14th, Just 15th, Midnight down in 16th. Jordan we saw retiring in the pits, and it was the crash of Blizzard that caused all that crazy action towards the end of that race, and in the end, that's what got Vasta Racer his victory.
Yeah, and I've just put into the Twitter chat, if they want to do an interview, then they have to go into the waiting room, and then we'll bring them in, of course, when the time comes for their interviews. But what a race we saw there. I don't know if it can contend for race this season with Bahrain. I mean, what other race is it going to contend with? This is only round number 2, and we've had 2 extraordinary races to begin this season. And hopefully we get many more like this. I'm just going to quickly check the calendar, see where we're headed next. We're headed to Austria next.
Yeah, we are. It is Austria. That is the next round of the season. Then Belgium, Netherlands, France, Canada, Japan, Azerbaijan making its first appearance this season. That could be a very interesting race as well. Another street circuit before the season finishes at one of the old traditional finales of the season at Brazil. But what a race we saw there. Started off, well, we say it started off in dry conditions. We started seeing the rain already on the formation lap, which was quite unexpected when we expected heavy rain to come after 20 minutes. It did start raining a lot harder, and everyone had to make that transition from intermediates to wets and then back onto intermediates, back onto slicks. And it looked for all the world that Mish had got it absolutely spot on, but that safety car at the end just costing him.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that Duncan's hopped into the waiting room, so I think I can move him in and we can start his interview.
Yeah, we'll
Hello,
get the interview started then with the man who finished in a very respectable second position in this race. Then it is VSR Duncan, and a fantastic performance from yourself, especially after a less than ideal qualifying.
Yeah, that was really bad qualifying. I invalidated both quali laps, so that was really stupid actually.
Tell us about what it was like at various points in that race, because we saw your teammate was one of the drivers to try and hang it out on the intermediate tyres. Was rain forecast extremely early in that race? Because I think we saw it starting to fall on the formation lap, or did you expect it to come a bit later than that?
Well, I saw that it was raining after 20 minutes, so it was pure guess to start on mediums. And then I actually used juice to pit one lap earlier every time to check if the tires were quicker than the other tires before, and yeah, that worked out really well.
Yeah, it did work out well for yourself. You had a fantastic battle with Recon earlier on in the race. You just weren't able to get ahead of him, but you managed to jump him in all of the pit stops. Like you said, a good idea maybe to use your teammate. And this has put you in a fairly good position. You must be didn't have an ideal race last time around. Did manage to get towards the end of the race, and 12 points, only 6 points off the lead. Still very early days. Do you think you can put a title challenge together?
Yeah, I will push as hard as I can to grab the title. But there are many races ahead of us, so we will see what will happen.
We will indeed. Dan, do you have any questions for Duncan?
yeah, I've just got asked about Austria next week. How do you feel about that circuit? Do you think you could have another performance like this where you could be challenging for the win?
Well, in Austria, I know that some other drivers in the PSGL F1 are really quick around there, so yeah, it's not a favorite of mine. But yeah, I will do everything I can to score as much points as possible.
Yeah, well, best of luck then for the rest of the season. It was a really good performance today. Well done for that one, and hopefully we can see you on the podium more this season.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Duncan. Fantastic performance from yourself. I'm just going to see if either Mish or Vesteracer want to come in, because it'd be good to hear from all of them. Although I imagine Mish is just feeling a bit gutted right now. Perhaps not as much as George Russell at Sakir last year, but that race was in his hands.
It was so unlucky for him at the end. Vasta has said that he's charging his headset or something like that so that he can join. So I think he'll be joining us. And she just looked in the Twitter chat, and Misha's saying that Vasta should get 5 seconds of time penalties because I do recall Vasta actually sort of cutting the pit entry. So I believe it was in the first pit stop. So that might get reported, and we could see next week if he keeps that win.
Yeah, I think it almost certainly will get reported. It might be one of those that is pretty fine. They're all on about the pit lane track limits. I know last year in F3 a few drivers fell foul of it at various tracks. Mexico, I think, and Abu Dhabi are some of those that come to mind. But we'll wait and see if that is the case. Hopefully we'll be able to ask Vasta Racer about it. We'll talk about how some of the other drivers did in that race as well. Gamer is leading the championship at the moment. I think even he wouldn't have expected that. He's yet to qualify in the top 10, but he's now leading the championship only by a point and still very early days. But he called it right when going from the wet tyres to the intermediate tyres and was able to hold on despite being on the mediums after his pit stop. We saw Ash drop a long way down the field to 13th place, but Gamer was just able to keep it nice and clean and stay in a good position and got rewarded with 5th position.
Yeah, it's really going to help him out if he just has performances like this where he could remain consistent and pick up some strong points finishes. he could be a bit of a dark horse in the championship. I didn't really think about him actually having a title contention. I believe last season he came in the top 10. I think he was around about ninth, so at the low end. I know for a fact that he didn't finish many races, unfortunately, and he was very upset with how his season went by the end of it. But now leading the championship without even qualifying in the top 10, that's quite impressive for him. And maybe he could pick up another win like he did in Britain last season.
Yeah, maybe indeed. We'll talk about the track that we've got next week because we've had Bahrain Short, pretty unconventional track, I think it's fair to say, taking us around at the last race. Singapore, fairly unique track on the calendar, one of the toughest street circuits, very tight, very twisty. Next time around, it is going to be Austria, as you said. Probably the most straightforward track on the F1 game, if we're being perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's a very simple track, and it's also the quickest in terms of lap time. Aside from Bahrain Short, it doesn't really count. It's not an official circuit that is on the actual F1 in real life calendar, but yeah, it's very interesting. And 36 laps. A lot of drivers do tend to like it just because it is more of an easy circuit. I won't lie to you. So yeah, it's certainly going to be very, very competitive around there.
Yeah, it is indeed. I think a few drivers will be hoping for a bit of a change in fortune. Last year's runner-up, Hughes, yet to score any points. It's been a bit of a difficult start to the season for him.
It's I think this race was a race to forget for him because he had so many issues. He sped in the pit lane at some point, and he had to serve that penalty. Just way at the back for a really long time, and I don't think he'll be happy with how this race has gone. Hopefully in Austria he can pick up a good performance. I'm just going to quickly check. Last time we went to Austria was in season 26 for the first race of F1 2020. Joost didn't get any points in that race, so this might not be a good sign that we're going there next.
Yeah, not exactly a happy hunting ground for him. We talked about some drivers who struggle. Lots of drivers put in fantastic performances, though, not least our podium. Who would you give your driver of the day to?
Oh, my driver of the day, I've got to go with Gamer because of his interesting strategy and to just really play it smart, I'd say, strategically. He was very clever to pit that one lap earlier and get that undercut, as well as the medium stint that he did right at the end of the Grand Prix. It was very strong from him to actually keep with the drivers who were ahead of him on the softs. And he's the highest finishing medium runner, and he started 13th, finished in 5th. That's 8 places he made up.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the man who I think, right up until that safety car came out, the man who looked as though he was going to comfortably win that race, and he ended up finishing where he started, not gaining at all. That is Mish. He did it. He pretty much did everything right. He knew it was going to rain for most of that race, went for a bit more of a wet setup, looked like he pulled out enough of a margin, but that safety car caused by the incident with Blizzard retiring from the race, bringing out that safety car really did ruin any chance Mish had. It doesn't look like Mish or Vasta Racer are going to be able to join us, unfortunately, so we'll start bringing this stream to an end. If you want to check out more PSGL action though, and if you want to check out something absolutely completely different, there is of course the Classic Championship going on tomorrow, where we're going to be taking one of the classic cars. They're going to be going around Brazil, and I believe it's in Senna's McLaren, so that is going to be quite a tricky car to try and send around that circuit. If you want to see some more equal performance league action, F11 and F12, they are on a Thursday afternoon at 7 and 8 p.m. from Austria. Sunday has F8 to F10, and then all the leagues F1 to F7 are on the Monday, with us bringing you action from the Red Bull Ring at 8 p.m. Thank you to Dan for joining me in the commentary box. Thank you to Duncan for joining us for the interview as well. Thanks everyone for watching, and we will see you next time around for the Austrian Grand Prix. Goodbye.